Welcome to an all-new Don't Bother Wearing Seatbelts. In this episode, the gang is talking to Andy Gonzales, formerly of Montreal, about all sorts of things, but mostly the album Coquelicot, never mind. If you're listening to this, you're probably enough of a fan to know what I'm referring to.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
I can hear you. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How are you today?
Doing good, thank you.
I am Matt, and we have Patrick here and Rudy as well.
Here we are.
And today we have you on to talk about the Of Montreal album, Coquelicot Asleep in the Poppies. What was your main role in Of Montreal? What were you mostly playing?
Guitar.
Okay. You are a nurse practitioner as of now, right?
That's correct. There's just a lot of energy in Athens at the time.
Yeah.
And Olivia Tremor Control were definitely just kind of like their thing. Everybody loved them. They were selling out the 40 watt and going on tours. And then Of Montreal, we were just kind of like the juniors of the league a little bit.
There was jello in the fingerprints, Detective Dolight discovered. This proved to be the most important finding in the case. And whereas Detectives Slox and Slavitz slobbered over smutty photographs,
look at the size of those.
Dolight had a better lead to follow. He followed the ringing to the telephone, where a voice asked,
"Excuse me, are you so-and-so? Oh, so-and-so, since you left, I have been eating only sweets 'cause they remind me of you."
Kevin and I were really good friends at that time. I could probably share a bunch of stories like Gay Parade. The title came about from him before I moved to Athens. I had a band called the Gray Parade and had told Kevin about me, and he misheard it, and he's like, his band's called the Gay Parade. I'm like, he kind of ran with that, so I don't know. It's interesting trivia. Kevin is an incredible songwriter. At that time, he was like 4 albums deep. Like, he was doing an album, but had already written a song for like 3 other albums. So it was interesting.
Oh, so you guys already had some of Satanic, some of All Hills Arboretum?
Definitely All Hills Arboretum, like already kind of writing those songs, I'm sure. He was just extremely prolific, still is.
Penelope, shoot the apple off my head. I need to go to the store to get some sleep, because I've run out of sleep. The rowboat came, so David stopped arguing with the mime and waved his arms like wheat. But when he tried to speak, the Prince of Plum fell through the roof of his mouth and handed David an envelope. Inside was a letter that read, "Sir, you were given this envelope. By mistake, please disregard it. Nickel and shoot the candle off my head. I need to..."
Something I was thinking about listening back to the record is, his songs, like, I felt that, like, you can use the chords and like use a section and make like 5 songs out of one of his songs, because there's just so many chords. And being in the band, I feel like he was really generous with letting us kind of contribute, because he could certainly do a lot of it or all of it himself. Derek was really good at putting the pieces together for his bass, adding bass to his parts. And then I felt like for me, it was like a challenge to add something. It's like putting a puzzle together. It's like his songs have so many chord changes. It's like it kind of made me really try to like, how can I like add a little part and have a little voice in this? And he was always really generous about that, and that let us contribute, and it was really collaborative. But he's certainly the master.
One of the things that I'm sorry. One of the things that I found really interesting before Matthew let me know that we had scheduled this interview, and he said, "Brace yourself for lots of fun and whimsy." And like I listened to it, I'm like just thinking, how do you even get your mind to think like this? And then I was looking a little bit into you, into at least Marshmallow Ghost and music tapes. And I've never heard the Gay Parade, but now I'm curious. There is definitely a lot of commonality for you. It probably was like, yeah, this guy's basically speaking a very similar language. It's in a different way, but there's sort of a similar approach. I'm just kind of curious where this sort of approach to music and blending all these, definitely not, at least to my ear, not current references. It has a very sort of, for lack of a better word, old-timey influence, but done in a modern way, with some psychedelia mixed in. I'm just kind of curious about that, because to me it's like amazing.
Yeah, for me, I met Will and Bill because they were living in Denver briefly, and a friend of mine worked at a movie theater with them. And I will say Will and Bill were massively influential in what they did, and then just kind of like introducing me to things. And same with John Fernandez. Like I think Jeff or a couple of them worked at a radio station in Ruston in college, and
Yes.
super music nerds. And so yeah, I didn't know about like Pet Sounds. I didn't know about a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I think for me they were really inspirational. I was playing music before them, but it was kind of like, I don't know, the very first recording I did was, I think I was singing like, what's his name from The Doors. It was just, I was completely, I didn't really have a voice or anything like that.
You're my muse. You're my silly goose. And every day's a dreamy day. I'm daydreaming of you.
I guess to me, the stuff that you were doing before you moved to Athens, it feels very sort of, my father was really into quote unquote underground, like experimental musical artists who played around with tapes and stuff like that in the late 60s. And there's a feel that's similar to that. So I guess to me, that's where I hear the commonality. But you're right. I mean, it's like there's definitely a whole group of new influences brought in once you're in of Montreal.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was kind of thinking about Kevin, because if you hear his earliest albums, and then there was an album that came out that was like some of his early songs and recordings. I feel like Kevin comes from a very wholesome and pure place. I think he had a very nice upbringing, and he had parents who allowed him to just kind of be himself and be creative and were very supportive of him. Same with his brother David. And I think that kind of shows like in kind of the whimsy and things like this of the music. And it's just kind of innocent in a way and not jaded at all. And I think it was kind of labeled as like twee music at the time, and nobody was like trying to be cool or have an edge. I felt like a Montreal occupied, or not, like Olivia Tremor Control definitely occupied that space without intent. They were just like very cool people. And the way Will sang is just like super cool. His lyrics are mysterious, and it's not like jokey or whatever. And I think maybe Kevin and I were more kind of like whimsical and innocent, and like I kind of liked funny music. I don't know.
Hello from inside a shell. You can see me 'cause my shell is invisible. It was made especially for me by the brilliant inventor Lassathini. I ride my unicycle downstairs to his laboratory when I know he's there, working on robotic aquatic bees, perfecting his mechanical donkeys, or running from exploding test tubes. Hello from
I
I also think, Andy, your music and Kevin's music, especially at the time, was very romantic. There's like this element of romance in those early of Montreal recordings and some of the songs that you've written too, that I just think are some of the most romantic kind of songs that, you know, are in the E6 canon. Is that something that you felt like growing up, like that kind of wholesome vibe where you saw romance in your life?
I personally can't really say. I have no idea what inspired or motivated me. I really didn't even like become aware as an adult until I was 40 years old. And it's sad, but I think about it and it's just like some compulsion to do it. I think some of my music is crappy and lame, but then people seem to like my first album, Seniors and Juniors. Yeah, and I don't.
Yeah, I have seniors and juniors on vinyl. I have not found a copy of Strikes Back yet. I know it's only on CD, but I'm always keeping my eyes open for it.
Yeah, I feel like I took a lot of inspiration when I met all of them. And I think Kevin did too, but he was already doing interesting, cool music and writing songs before I think he even knew a lot of the E6 folks. And then just kind of grew and grew from there.
Here I sit planted in the mud, a mushroom of melted molecules, where language has been reduced. We can only use abbreviations. Here comes the pony, they won the Tony. There were flaws in the experiment.
I was listening to the album, and something Kevin and I definitely talked about and worked on a little bit is I feel like there was a moment where like I was kind of into playing piano, and I had this idea is like, what if like a song like changed the instrument on the melody like every 8 beats or something like that?
Oh yes, it's like my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, and so we both kind of did stuff like that, and then I was doing these kind of like weird piano songs. Then I went over to Kevin's one day, and like all of a sudden he was playing piano and like playing these incredibly intense compositions. It's just like I didn't even. It seemed like it happened overnight. It was crazy. That was kind of a moment where I realized it's like Kevin is extremely passionate and hungry, and like it works on this religiously, and I'm just like just go around and smoke marijuana and like play Legend of Zelda. That's kind of like our two different vibes. And he's extremely driven. He always surprised me. And then we'd have these little ideas, and I think we kind of bounce things off each other. And I think he would certainly agree with that.
On a charming and frozen magical island, far out at sea, I will take you there with me. No more ridicule, no more grief, they can reach us out at sea. Think how happy we will be.
He's super melody driven. I feel like that's kind of his songwriting style. It's like this super strong melody. And then he just has the brain power to just kind of fill it all out on guitar and use a lot of interesting chords to kind of get there. Kind of like people who write show tunes and you know, for Broadway songs and stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
that was kind of like the quality I think we were going for, and you can see on.
I agree with that. I mean, I always thought Kevin's songwriting was very Kinks-esque because he used characters and stories so well, but you're right that it's almost more theater-esque, like, you know, and I love that aspect about it. Were you guys, was most of the band living together at this time?
Yeah, largely I didn't. I lived with John Fernandez when I first moved there. John Fernandez, the awesome contributor to Olivia's and his own music. And I lived with Will Hart for a little while. I didn't have a car. So yeah, around the recording of these albums, They had moved out. Derek, Dottie, who were together at the time, Jamie Huggins, and Kevin all moved out to this house like 20 minutes out in the country. And I was like, well, great. Like, I don't have a car. Like, so I getting driven there by them. And so I miss out on some of the recording sessions because they were just like all out there. So yeah, those albums were recorded, and a couple of my albums were recorded out at this kind of farmhouse out in the country. And then I believe about halfway through, they moved out of there, and Kevin got a house by himself in town.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Oh no, oh no.
I recorded all my stuff with him. I was kind of listening back, like the album Marshmallow Coasting, and I think Ride the Lightning. That was all on their gear. So like all the piano you hear on Coquelicot is like the exact same piano sounds on my stuff, and we're just all kind of helping each other out.
Were these a combination of tape and of digital at this time?
I don't think digital quite yet. I think it was all still tape, if I'm not misremembering. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, tape. We had a 16 track and a mixing board, and like Kevin would drop he bought like the Distressor, which is like a really nice compressor. I think he got this like old 60s compressor, and it was just like so exciting every time we bought a cool piece of gear because we knew it would kind of level things up. It was good because
that kind of blows my mind that it was still on tape. Were you kind of like a song like Penelope? Did you record that all the way through, or did you record it in its pieces and then mash it together in mastering?
Let's see. So I think for that song, yeah, I think it was all kind of all the way through. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it kind of tracking.
That's amazing to me. These songs are so disparate just from every 30 seconds to the last 30 seconds of the song that you guys are actually like in the recording, you are playing it all the way through.
No, definitely overdubbing, but putting down. Yeah, but for sure, it was that old school. You could punch in, but yeah, you had to like play the song all the way through. You didn't have a click track, and like I don't think Kevin did digital recording until Satanic Panic. I'm pretty sure, but I can't fully remember. I think even All Hills Arboretum was on the 16 track.
That impresses me that none of it was. Because even in 2001 or 2000, I was kind of like dabbling in the digital world, and I was already like trying to do a combo of things, but it was just so much easier to edit, of course, digitally. But that, like a song like Penelope is like, I don't know, it's like Dukes of Stratosphere level psychedelia of craziness. So that's amazing to me. Well done.
Sure. Thank you very much. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was all on tape. Derek Olmsted would be the definitive person to ask about that, or Kevin, but I'm pretty sure it's all on tape.
I know that in my dreaming world, the friends I've made aren't impressed, and they are not pretend. They are just as real as this world that I've grown to know. And though I have enjoyed myself, I really have to go.
I'm going to ask a really stupid, obvious question, but that's my job. I mean, I kind of know that long, ridiculous titles is sort of like a thing with Montreal. I mean, not every record, but a lot of records. This one is especially long. I mean, I don't even know how to pronounce the word coquelicot, whatever. But you know, it's just sort of. I'm just kind of what's the. I mean, I'm just seeing here it lists as Coquelicot Asleep in the Poppies, a variety of whimsical verse. I mean, it's not an accurate title for what I feel when I listen to the record, but what's the deal?
I can certainly shed some light on that, which I think will be largely correct, because I think Kevin's earlier albums were not that, hyper literate, and
No, you had Cherry Peel, Gay Parade.
it was definitely with intent. And I believe Coquelicot came from a movie, some 60s movie that Jamie Huggins had shown Kevin, and he just like loved that name. But I remember Kevin very deliberately wanting to read the classics, definitely educating himself, building his vocabulary to kind of become the awesome songwriter who's like very flourishy and hyper literate.
He writes in lysergic bliss.
Yeah, yes. That was all intentional to kind of level up his game, honestly. I really think it was, very deliberate and wanted to kind of advance his thing. I feel like at that time too in Athens, we were really unpopular with the local flagpole and kind of like around town, like because Athens was like really rock based, and we were kind of like these weird people dressing up, wearing funny clothes, and like our music had like humor to it, and all of this kind of whimsy to it, and we certainly paid a price.
I know Satanic Panic was the first one that got like a ton of attention. In fact, I remember my kid, who's now 21, was maybe like 2 years old. And I took my kid to the park and I'm playing, and I hear one of the kids in the playground talking about how his sister just got this album, Satanic Panic. And I'm like, my mind was blown.
Yeah.
Like, this 10-year-old kid is talking about Satanic Panic in the attic.
That was the first album on polyvinyl, and I can't remember how Kevin pursued and got that record deal, but no, they definitely had more of a machine behind them and were able to kind of do some licensing and help kind of elevate of Montreal.
Well, I know that some of that licensing ended up becoming a bit of a sore spot, but I'm of the opinion, like he didn't make that song to sell it to Outback Steakhouse. Like there's nothing wrong with accepting some money for some art that you made.
But wasn't there something wrong with it back then? It's so true. It's like back then it was like very uncool to like that's like selling out or whatever.
No, selling out is what Post Malone did when in your art you're selling Budweiser.
Yeah.
Like, if you're selling the product in your art, that's fucking selling out.
Yeah. No, it's true. It was like I think there was just a lot of grateful to get some money for things. And but yeah, I don't think young people today have any concept of that like punk rock notion of selling out. Like
oh, it was huge in the 90s, man. Like you had better fucking not be a sellout.
I know you were crazy.
Hey, Andy, going back to, like the band's kind of, mentality in and around Athens at the time. Do you think that had anything to do with the live shows being so theatrical?
That was all Kevin wanting to use and incorporate his brother David, who is at the exact same level of creative genius and originality. One thing I really loved about them, I've said in other interviews, it's like I left the band. It's an interesting story. I moved to Athens playing music tapes, and then we went down to this festival in Florida a few months before that. In music tapes, like we were in a car accident. The van didn't have like seats. We were just like sitting in the floor, and we got in a car accident, and like I cut my head open, and
Oh, wow.
and like Kevin, they had like a nice van that he was like blessed to have his parents kind of like provide for them. And so I kind of left of my music tapes that day and joined of Montreal going because they had a nicer van. It's so sad. But I don't remember what we're talking about. But
Speaking of selling out,
okay, here we go. So like
I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
no, I know, totally. Thank you. And we went down to Florida, and that's when I first met David. Kevin like gave him like such a big hug. Like in my drug-addled stoner brain, I was like, "Is this his boyfriend?" Like I don't know. That was weird. But
It's his brother, right? You're talking about David Barnes.
and I was like, "Yes." It's like this is like the sweetest thing. Like because my brother and I hate each other. Like we don't even like each other now. So I wasn't used to that much like love between two brothers. That's kind of getting back to like how wholesome I feel like Kevin is at his core. And he's very good to those he loves. He always made sure to include David in every way with the artwork and then with the shows. So David had like free reign to make the shows weird, so lots of interesting costumes and like set design and stuff. And we just kind of like ignored the fact that maybe the critics of Athens didn't think it was cool because we were definitely, I don't remember if we were selling out the 40 watt around that time, but definitely filling the club and, it was working.
I saw some of those late 90s, early 2000 shows, and they were fantastic. I mean, I've never seen a bad of Montreal show. You know what I mean? They're always interesting and fun. Even the Pollinary Rave tour I thought was fantastic.
I have a question just about just being a nurse practitioner. Number one, thank you for being a nurse practitioner. I think nurse practitioners are very much the unsung heroes of the medical world, just because they tend to know a lot and fill a lot of gaps that doctors don't fill for whatever reasons, just because of corporate restraints and things like that. So anyway, I've found in my own personal experience that nurse practitioners often know quite a bit about whatever you have going on in your world. So thank you. But I'm just kind of curious how you wound up transitioning to that world.
That's actually a really good story, and it has to do with Montreal. Yeah, I grew up like in a poor family. I saw the writing on the wall. And sorry, when I was like a teenager, I worked in a group home, and it was taking care of developmentally disabled people. And we were doing like really hard work, like lifting these people up, changing their diapers, like challenging, physically demanding, difficult work. And around like 17, 18, something like that. And the nurses would come in and just like pass out some meds and like sit in their office and like write some notes. And I just stored away in my head. It's like, maybe one day I'll do that. Like that would be a career. And we were touring in Europe. I had broken my foot, so I was in a boot and had crutches and just like hobbling around. And we were trying to catch this train, and they were like running, and I was like 50 feet behind everybody. And in that moment, I was like, fuck this. Like, when we get back to the US, I'm gonna quit the band. And I told Kevin that, and it really hurt his feelings. But in a sign, kind of tell you how generous he was, his immediate thought was, why don't you go like live with my parents and go to nursing school in Florida? Like, which was a really sweet offer. And his mom was absolutely supportive in every way and very loving. Yeah, she was like, yeah, come live with me and go to school, and so you don't have to pay rent. And I didn't take them up on it, but just like goes to show, I think Kevin is a very generous person. I'm not sure how he might have been perceived. I've never seen the Montreal movie or anything like this, or
I have seen it, and it does not portray him in that light.
I think it's inaccurate. Yeah, I think Kevin's a very generous and loving person.
Like I'm actually a little verklempt. And like this is really nice to hear. It really
Yeah.
is.
No, it's true. And you know, one thing he and I talked about, because my band was Marshmallow Coast and his was on Montreal, is like we were clearly like it was like our thing. We all wanted of Montreal to be like the Who. Like everybody was really important. It was a group effort. But the truth is that it was like Kevin's baby, and he allowed us to participate in it. And I'm very comfortable saying that. I don't know if anybody else would agree or feel okay about that statement, because I know there were a lot of hard feelings, and none of the original members are in the group anymore. But yeah, I think Kevin is just like knows what he needs to do. He knows how to get there, and I don't think he's selfish, but I think he will certainly protect what he needs to do. And if something doesn't align with the vision, he's okay to kind of like move on from that person or that thing.
That is honestly how I've always seen it. I've always seen it as I don't think he ever wanted to be mean to anyone, but also his art is his art, and he's not going to compromise his vision for anyone.
And we all had great opportunities for it. I don't attribute any of my record deals to Kevin, but I was certainly helped out by other people, and by association was able to like get on Kindercore Records and stuff like this. And Jamie was able to put an album out on polyvinyl, and everybody certainly had an opportunity to do their thing. I remember one story, something Dottie had shared with me, that she had this opportunity to maybe work for, somehow related through REM, like maybe work for Warner Brothers. She had passed up an interesting like business opportunity to remain in Montreal. And I remember her telling me that, and it's just like, we certainly gave a lot. So if there are some hard feelings, like I can understand.
Oh, I'm sure the hard feelings are well earned as well, but I just don't think that there was violence intended. You know what I mean? I don't think he wanted to hurt anyone, but it happened, and he was going to move on from that.
Yeah, definitely. We'd go on tour, we'd split all the money. We're like funny about it. Like we split everything up at the end of the night, and like, whereas a lot of bands just kind of pull it all and then, divvy out after expenses. So, and I know that's not the way things are now. Money certainly plays into it, because Kevin got married, had a child, had to think about finances and things like this.
Seeing everybody on tour, like there's it was definitely a community. You could tell, like exactly like you're saying, that it was like kind of one for all, one, that type of vibe. And you do in any sort of musical sense, when there's more money happening and bigger shows and bigger egos and all those things, but somebody who's still like at the end of the day, like this has kind of been their baby from day one. Of course, I think there's going to be things that come up, and I do think having new blood in the band kind of helped shift the band too, to probably make it a different kind of, maybe more commercial thing, even though like a kind of an old school fan like myself probably still listen more to like the 4-track recordings or Cherry Peel or Gay Parade or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think this is kind of the transition time with this record.
It really was, yeah.
Do you know you're being followed by the shadow?
I remember something else. There was a moment where I was like, drum machines are super cool. Like I was like thinking about like 90s rap and I was like, I need a sampler and a drum machine. And I think Kevin and I like we really got excited about that. And I didn't have money. And then he bought that program Reason, which is what you recorded a lot of Satanic Panic and shared it with me, which was really nice. And yeah, I hope he wouldn't be offended by this, but I feel like a little bit of credit for kind of like going in the drum machine route and like synths and stuff because that was not cool. I don't Bill and like Olivia Tremor Controls, like nobody used drum machines synths is like it was very much 60s rock and like that was like this interesting shift and it certainly proved to be good for Kevin. I feel like that was that
Oh, it certainly did.
yeah, that was that time when like all of that stuff was just gaining more popularity in general. And I think him kind of switching from like the drums, bass, kind of rock setup and like getting more into like beats and stuff and sequencing and happened at a really good time for him.
I'd like to introduce you now to Isabel Lee, president owner of the Edwardium Wax Museum, daughter of the comedic duo Dorothy and Edward. Do you remember them? They accomplished mild success on the stages of the vaudeville theaters in Blackpool and in London. That was before the advent of Hollywood. When vaudeville died and people stopped going to
Was it
see
a conscious decision to start moving away from the whimsy after Coquelicot? Is the albums that followed, there is still some whimsy in there, but
Yeah.
it's nowhere on the vast grand scale that Coquelicot was.
I think so. I think that was like some feedback from this like sense that that wasn't cool and maybe he or artists like that should change perhaps. I don't know.
You,
Yeah, I think
you,
it
you want to know my perspective on that?
absolutely.
From a fan's point of view, and tell me if you think this is completely off, Andy, but from a fan's point of view, I think he met one of the most beautiful creatures on earth in Europe and European music, dance music. You know, like if you just start feeling like a sexy person, you try to start making maybe sexier music.
I think he definitely started to feel like a sexy person after a while.
Yeah. And I definitely think that having a love in your life can completely flip your mind around.
Yeah, probably so. It because maybe after like going to Europe and things like that where inspired him in a different direction. I just think we thought it like sounded a little cooler. I definitely wanted to do it with my music and he beat me to it, I think, with Satanic. I think my first album that used that stuff was Freak Fantasy. And
Fucking great album, by the way, Freak Fantasy.
oh, thank you. I mixed that on the crappiest little speakers in the world and it shows. And unfortunately, Derek couldn't master it into like awesomeness anyway. So maybe so, kind of being more sexy and European. And after meeting his wife at the time, Nino's super cool. I remember when they met for the first time. I think they'd like corresponded, and we had done a tour, or not a tour, a festival show in Emmaboda, Sweden, and she came to the show. And they met for the first time, and like I think he felt very lucky to meet her, and it was really cute actually.
Will you kiss me again so I can pretend we're kissing for the first time? Because when we kissed for the first time I was distracted. I couldn't believe it was true, that I was truly, really, finally kissing you. Will you hug me again so I can pretend we're embracing for the first time? Cause when you
I do love his albums where it's so obvious that he's falling in love or has recently fallen in love. Like even one of his albums that I think kind of gets ignored from the later period is You're Fun. And you could tell, like, that's his love letter to his relationship with Christina at that point. And I think it's a fantastic pop album.
I'm so embarrassed to say I haven't heard anything beyond a few songs after Sunlandic Twins.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, I'm like 10 albums behind. But,
you may be more than that. That dude puts on a lot of records.
Yeah. No, I saw the cover of Your Fun, and yeah, it's really sexy and cute, and yeah.
For somebody like me, that's the sort of stuff that's really interesting. While I enjoy the music and all, but also just the idea that here's this band that's so well regarded and they're not making much money. You are doing it. I mean, it just took a nicer band to woo you over to another band, you know, and you go into nursing. I'm just like, it says a lot about the mindset of the people involved, that it's really not about the money. It's just a cool set of experiences and opportunity to express yourself for a few years. And I guess, am I completely off base in that, or is that
No, I think that definitely applies to the early stuff. But one thing I'll say about Kevin, I remember about that around that time, it is very much like, what can I do to take it to the next level? So, but I don't think he's motivated by money. He just wanted to reach as many people as possible and share his music and vision. Yeah, and it's funny. I think there was like a article or something that Michael Stipe wrote in some magazine, and I think he was talking about Elephant Six and stuff, and talked about how like, it's like, let's be realistic. Like, you know, say there's 100 bands, like only like one is going to make it and make a living. That's kind of part of my thing is like, I don't have any family money. Like, I need to like go to nursing school, get a job, and I still held onto the dream and made a lot of albums up till recently.
Well, when you say until recently, are you working on anything new? Is there
No,
new Marshmallow?
No, no, yeah, I don't know. And sorry to talk about my thing, but like, yeah.
No, talk about your thing. This is not a strict show by any means.
Good. I like our conversation, so thank you. So I had this weird crisis where I was like, why does anybody write a song? Like, who am I to think like I can write a song? Like, something about it, like, really, I've never questioned it. It's like, this is who I am. I play music. It's all I've wanted since I was 12 years old. And like, to all of a sudden, it's like, why does somebody do it? Like, that's really self-egotistical. It's like, who do they think they are? And unfortunately, I spent a long time kind of in that. After the last album I did, which was called Memory Girl, and had that like weird crisis. And then going back to school and feeling really guilty about, I need to learn all of this medical content to be competent and provide good care. And I felt super guilty, even just like playing my guitar for several years. Felt like I should be studying.
Well, I will tell you that I love Memory Girl.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Whereas like Kevin, like this is the interesting thing. It's like he's kept the dream alive ever since then. I would love to talk to him sometime because, you know, I definitely got out of the game and he's stayed in the game, and it's cool. I felt like we're in a state of suspended adolescence. Like that's how I would describe being in a band. You do this thing, you believe in your dream, like you stay up late and work on music. It's like whatever it takes to get by and work a crappy job if you have to. And he's stayed in that world. And I think that's really interesting because, you know, he's made a whole career out of it. I'm impressed for sure. For me, yeah, I felt like after getting out of it, I realized that it was okay to like be a musician or an artist and like work a regular job. That was an interesting, kind of a hard pill to swallow in a way. When you want to be an artist and you want it so bad, and you realize you're not making a living off of it. And it's like I need to like change gears and do something else.
Rose Robert, I'd like to welcome you to our affair. We'll write a lovely little story, just you and I. As time goes by, me and my Rose Robert. People stare when we walk arm in arm along the thoroughfare. The gentlemen don't know whether to bow their heads or tip their
You know, Andy, the first time I ever saw your face was in an advertisement in a magazine where you're holding the sign that says we'll play for food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I loved that. You know, I can remember being, you know, whatever, between 18 and 22 years old and being in a band and just having a shitty job so you could go on tour and, you know, all that stuff. And I always remembered that photo. And I love that, just having this conversation with you, that you were not playing a character there. You were, that was you.
I'm literally playing to kid. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But so, you know what I remember, and this is like some nice, interesting closure. Perhaps it was you, but who mailed me the Poison Control Center CD, and I don't know if that was you, and like sent a really nice letter, and like I'd love for you to check out my music. And if I never wrote you back, like I loved the CD, and like no, and I remember you guys because Jim Hicks was just like, I've seen you guys play maybe like 3 times, and you guys just freaking rocked super hard. So if I've never had a chance to tell you that, here we go. So
Well, I appreciate that, and we're always just fans of your music, so it's just so cool to talk to you, and one thing I did see on tour once that you can put in your back pocket is there was a sticker on somebody's guitar case that said "Real musicians have day jobs."
yeah.
So and I love that you're a lifer and can pick up the guitar and hopefully not feel guilty about it at this point.
I hope to do something again. I've always wanted to do an instrumental album, and it's like, I don't know what I'm waiting for.
It's a very starry night, though the moon's not very bright. It's a very attractive sight, this fair and starry night. It's a very starry night.
Oh, here's something to circle back to Elephant Six. Like Pete Erchick, who's the keyboard player in Olivia Tremor Control and has his own band, Pipes You See, Pipes You Don't. Like,
Yep.
he coined the term like Mutual Appreciation Society. Him or like Eric Harris. Like that was like our feeling. Everybody in E6 in Athens, like we called it the Mutual Appreciation Society. Like
That's awesome.
I don't know that everybody like promoted and built everybody up. I think I carried a tiny chip on my shoulder. I certainly did. Like when Kevin kind of got big, I was like, how can he like lift me up? But I think at the time is like, you know, if you're kind of like catching some luck and like the ball's rolling, you're probably more focused on just continuing that for yourself. And like, you know, I think probably happens a lot in the music community, the rap community, a lot of communities. It's like people who are also in the scene and not as big. It's like, why aren't they like helping promote me and lift me up? Like, but they're probably just like trying just as hard as they can to keep their thing.
There's only so many hours in the day. There's
True.
only so much you can do to think about everything that's not you. And I mean, it's so hard to make your own plans happen for you to incorporate other people's, especially at like this level. It's not like he became some sort of CEO and had the power to just throw, you know, everyone everything they wanted. He didn't really have that power.
But I will say being a guy, you know, from small town Iowa, and this starts with it goes all the way back to REM or B-52s or Pylon or whatever. To me, Athens was always the place where like, and REM was great at this, was a place where they were talking about the other bands in their town. They were trying to, you know, Athens is almost its own musical entity from a person who doesn't live there. You know what I mean? And when I started getting, and I was always into REM growing up, but so I knew about things like Pylon or B-52s or Love Tractor or all those kind of things. But when I started getting really into the E6 stuff, the only way I learned about those other bands is when those bands would go on tour and they would talk about the other bands, because I was, or I'd go buy a Magnet magazine or a CMJ magazine, because I lived an hour away from where you could buy a CD. So there is that mutual appreciation society, even if somebody maybe couldn't take anybody to the next level. I do think that that's how I learned about so many different things, and that's a music scene. That's a community. If you guys can appreciate each other enough to tell a 20-year-old kid in Iowa about another band.
That's true. No, yeah, it's true. Definitely, I think in ways that anyone could, they tried to share about what their friends were doing.
It's snowing all around inside Mimi's wardrobe. Now she's covering the wardrobe in aluminum foil. Then she sticks her little finger through the keyhole and says,
"Suck on it, and maybe I'll let you go."
For me, for the way that my mind works, I just absolutely love a rabbit hole. If you put a rabbit hole in front of me, I'm going to dig down into it. And the Elephant Six rabbit hole is the greatest rabbit hole I've ever found. It's like every hole I find, I dig a little bit deeper. There's another gorgeous fucking temple hidden under here. And I'm just like, it just never ends. Every rock I overturn, it's something beautiful and amazing. That's it. You're my favorite rabbit hole.
It is a really good rabbit hole, and yeah, I'm grateful to be somewhere in it.
Yeah, and it's so cool. The one thing about the rabbit hole that's fun for me is that all of you guys were so involved with so much, and you were all doing your own thing but also playing on other people's things, that like if you sat down with people to ask like, oh, who did that guitar line on that, like there's a good chance everybody would be like, I don't know, did I do that, did you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful that you guys were so in the moment, and maybe it was just the Zelda and smoking weed, but you guys were so in the moment that it's just captured there in time to kind of just be just this magical thing that you can't even remember who did what.
I like you 'cause you look like a giraffe, stretching out its neck to get to fruit and a torch. You're always occupied with girly things. Your room is filled with girly posters of teen idols and roller coasters and funny things like that. You got a red and purple striped stuffed animal cat that takes up half the bed.
I was listening to Coquelicot and getting back to like something that I found a good challenge was to try to have a little voice in Kevin's songs. So I could certainly pick out all my guitar parts in his thing. But yeah, he definitely could have done all the guitars himself. But he let us all contribute, and which was good. But yeah, there probably is a lot of, can't remember who did what sort of stuff.
And I love that about Elephant Six stuff too, because everybody's perfectly capable of doing everything. Everybody plays multiple instruments. Everybody writes songs. So I think that's the thing that's kind of magic about it too.
Yeah, I agree.
Arg, you're listening to 81.3 Sound of the Sea. Sound of the sea, sound of the sea.
Well, I just want to thank you for your time. This has been really good. We've covered a lot of ground. Definitely, I think going back and listening to the record gives me a slightly different perspective on things and sort of what was going on at the time, which I think is kind of the fun of doing these interviews with people. It's just kind of understanding sort of the mindset of people at the time, and just in general, and getting to know people as humans, as stories, real experiences. It's really interesting to me. Anyway, so thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, this is fun to talk about. haven't talked about this stuff in a long time.
Yeah, no, honestly, it was an honor to have you on, Andy. I would love to do a Marshmallow Coast episode with you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'd be happy to.
It's awesome. Thanks again, Andy. That's so cool to hear these stories.
Thank you, Patrick. And yeah, it was nice to talk to all of you.
Thank you, Andy.
You too. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Don't Bother Wearing Seatbelts returns in 2 weeks with another freed episode from Season 1, with a special all-new bonus added. It's an episode about the album Dirty TV by Honey Puppy. Plus, we're tacking on a recent short discussion we had with Johnny of Witch Cat Records. Until then, don't forget about our $1 Patreon that makes you eligible for our many giveaways and helps us keep the proverbial lights on. And oh yeah, don't forget to do what brings you joy and fulfillment. And maybe listen to some great music too.